Okay, so here we're talking about 100 children, and they say that it's 100, but notice how we start off with 200. So my thinking is that mean doesn't really tell us how many children, median tells us halfway, and standard deviation doesn't help us, but first and third quarter, that gives us our IQR. So remember what we have here. So this number here is my median. This is Q1, this is Q3. Remember, 50% of my data is in here. And so that is between 43 and 48. So the answer to here is C. Okay, which of the following would be most difficult to use the census? Now remember, census is when we get everybody. Now take a minute to look these over. It would be easy to determine about bicycles. I mean, it would be some effort, but do you see that E, determine the amount of fish that are bass in Lake Michigan? We would have to drain it. Okay, and that's not going to happen. So that the second one is E. Okay, now notice that they use the word approximately normal. Okay, they do not give us a mean, but they give us a standard deviation, so this is essentially a z-score problem. Okay, I don't know what the mu is equal to, but I know that standard deviation is 0.3. So this would be mu plus 0.3. All right, so we know that the center is 50. I'm trying to change to another color. Okay, so we know the center is 50, and we know that one standard deviation both ways is 68%, correct? Half of 68 is 34, so that means that this guy here is going to be at the 84th percentage, because that's 50 plus 34. All right, now, we know that it's above the mean, so it can't be these belows. And I know that 67 is less than 84, so I know it's not going to be more than 0.3. So my answer is either C or D. So let's think about it here. 67. Well, if there's 34 here, 34 divided by 2 is 17. Okay? 17. And what do I have? 50 plus 17 is 67. So roughly speaking, half of 0.3 is 0.15. Now, it's not a true proportion because there's more of the color, in some areas than the other. It's not uniform, so it's not a true proportion, but it's a good place to start. And do you see here that 0.13 is a lot closer than 0.20, so my answer is C. Okay, so here we're talking about luxury cars, and so let's just so N is equal to 100, and this is non, and so N is equal to 250, and they say of the 250, 150 have, so X, let's get rid of it here, so X is equal to 125, where X here is 30. So that means that my P hat is 0.3, and my P hat here is going to be 0.5 as a half, correct? All right, and so which one of these lovely formulas do I use? Hope you know that for Z, 90% is 1.6, so it's not going to be anything with a 9.6. Okay? And the answer is A, because this is the formula that you use. Okay, so here they're asking about hypotheses, and so I'm just going to write them down. My null hypothesis is that mu is equal to, remember, is always what it is equal to, and my HA is mu, then they talk about exceeding, is greater than 65. So my answer to 5 is C. Okay, let's go down here to 6. Fair coin is flipped. If four heads flip, if the first 4 flips are heads up, what's the probability of the next one? Now remember, this is independent. It doesn't matter how many times, it's always going to be independent. So my probability is always going to be equal to 1/2. So the answer is B. Okay, so for this problem number 7, we have two stem leaf plots. And the first thing they do is they ask about the median. And so if you count the number of data in both company A and company B, they're both 16. And remember, when it's an even number, you got to take the two middle numbers, which is the 6th and the 7th. Anyway, look at here. If I add 47 and 44, right, and divide by 2, I'm going to get roughly 245. Here, if I add 43 and 53, I'm going to get 148. So the median for A is bigger than the median for B. So that is not true because it said less. So that is out. Now the range of the two companies, so look at over here for company A and company B, I wrote down the highest and the lowest. And the range for A is bigger than the range for B. So this is out because it says A is less than. Now, here they talk about the third quartile of A is smaller than the third quartile of B. So if I have 8 data, so that's going to be 4th and the 5th from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, no, the 3rd and the 4th. Let me get another color here. So would it be here between, and the third quartile here, 1, 2, 3. So it'd be halfway between 327 and 373, and between 173 and 209. Do you see how A is bigger than B? So this is out. It says the mean of A is greater than the mean of B. Okay, so let's look at this. Do you see how this is skewed towards the higher numbers? And this is pretty symmetric. Excuse me, A is skewed towards the higher numbers. B is basically symmetric. So for B, I can make the statement that the median is pretty close to the mean because A here, that the skew towards a higher number, remember the mean goes with the tail, that I would say that the mean is greater than my median. And if my median here is 47, 44, well then it's going to be higher than that. So A is greater than, that's the answer. But let me just do kicks for here. The inner quartile of A is twice the inner quartile of B. Well, I would say that these numbers here are pretty well tight because they're in here pretty tightly. The D is the answer. All right, so now let's go down to 8. A random variable with a mean of 100 and a standard deviation of 10, which of the following is equivalent to x is greater than 115? Okay, so I'm going to draw my normal curve, and I get mu is equal to 100. My standard deviation is 15, and here is 115, and we're talking about here. What do you see? That's 1.5 standard deviation. So if I was to go 1.5 here, that's 85, and if I was to shade below. Because remember, the curves are symmetric. So these two areas have the same values, and so that's going to be x is less than 85, which is C. Okay, so read number 9. They're talking about a bias, all right? Now, for the AP test, you do not need to know the name of your biases. You just have to know what they are, and I do recommend that you know what they are, all right? And so you look all these over here, and I think we can all see that the answer is B because people who feel strongly about it are going to take the time out to go do something about it. So the answer is B. Okay, so I hope you're taking time to read number 10, and they gave us the correlation here. So hopefully somewhere you're saying that's strong and positive, all right? And then what effect will they have? Okay, so let's talk about correlation. Do you remember the rules about correlation? Is that correlation does not have any units. That correlation is always between -1 to +1. That correlation, that if you go like from centimeters to inches, if you go from seconds to hours, that it does not change. The units does not change. And so the answer here is C. All right, so let's talk about this problem. The deal is that she took a sample of 20 integers and she recorded the number of times 6 appeared. She does this 99 more times. So each 99 times she takes 20 samples. and records the number of sixes, and she does it again, and she does it again. All right? So you see her sample size is 20. And the probability of getting a 6 between 0 and 9 is 0.1. And because she's writing down the number of times that she gets a 6, that's the number of hits. So this is a binomial distribution where n is 20 and my probability is 0.1. So the answer here is C. Come on. All right. Here the table shows a sample mean and the median of the two sample measurements. What is the median for the combined the sample of the 47 measurements? Okay, so number 12 is a tricky question, and it's because of the fact that the math that they have here shows you how to find the mean. Okay, so the math here, 21 times 42 plus 26 times 49.2 divided by, that's how you find the mean. And they're trying to get you confused between mean and median. And so the answer to this is E, that we can't do this, not for the median, because the median is halfway. There is no formula for this. So the answer is E.